On this historic day, we had the Dalai Lama pay a visit, and we have some questions for you. I understand that you head up a committee on Friends of Burma. And what has been done, if anything, against the violent crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in Burma?
Well, the government of Burma, the dictatorship, is under a lot of pressure now worldwide. They've seen that horrendous crackdown on monks and peaceful demonstrators. And I know even China and India, the closest countries, have put a lot of pressure diplomatically. So the government of Burma has now had to meet with the UN envoy. The UN has made statements, their Human Rights Commission has made statements against the crackdown, how unacceptable it is to against human rights to this crackdown. And our group, the Parliamentary Friends of Burma, last week on a press conference released a 10-point plan that basically dealt with the detainees. They must tell us where they are. There's thousands of people unaccounted for, and have international monitoring of them. We want India and China and Thailand to take a lot of action because they're the closest to Burma and they can have the most effect. And we want to have economic sanctions that will hurt the dictatorship but not the people. So economic embargoes, arms embargoes, and investment bans, because the government makes a lot of profits from investments in their country and also the taxes from those. So there's a lot of action going around the world from all countries that found it totally unacceptable to murder innocent monks and peaceful demonstrators.
Thank you. Has there been any real action taken by this government for Burma?
Well, one thing that I'm very happy with, our group had proposed in May that Aung San Suu Kyi become an honorary Canadian citizen. There's only been 3 in history and no women. And all parliamentarians unanimously, including the government, which was very much appreciated, made Aung San Suu Kyi an honorary Canadian citizen several weeks ago. And that really sent a message to the world that you don't imprison, house arrest a Nobel Prize winner. You don't put in prison the leader of a country who won a democratic election, and you don't put in prison a number of peaceful demonstrators, and even 13 MPs are in prison for no reason at all. It's against human rights, it's against international standards, and it's totally not acceptable. And to make Aung San Suu Kyi an honorary Canadian citizen really sent a message, and we're hoping that will be followed by more actions by the Canadian government, as I just outlined in our 10-point plan.
It's interesting that the Dalai Lama's 3-day visit to Ottawa will include a public meeting today with our Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. What reaction to the Dalai Lama's visit do you think Canadians are having?
Well, I think Canadians really admire and respect the Dalai Lama. There was thousands of people turned out yesterday to see him at the Ottawa Civic Centre. There was a meeting with parliamentarians today in this room, and it was packed. There was a meeting with the Parliamentary Friends of Burma and a meeting with the Prime Minister, and I think all those groups are right on side with the people of Canada, because they see the Dalai Lama, Nobel Peace Prize winner, and now one of only 4 honorary Canadian citizens, as a real hero and leader in the world to try and save oppressed people, but through peaceful actions, which is so difficult. And he's done this for his entire life. He's 78 now, I believe, and people just admire his struggle and the peaceful way he's gone about it under such difficult circumstances that the people of Tibet had, very similar to the people of Burma, where thousands of them have been murdered, including monks, in their effort for autonomy. And the Dalai Lama does not want to be a separatist. He wants to remain in China, but have autonomy for the people of Tibet so they can protect their language and their beautiful culture and their religion.
I understand you've met him before and again today.
Yes, I met him in Vancouver, and at that time I encouraged him to come to my riding in the Yukon. And I met him today. I actually had about 5 minutes private audience almost by accident while we were waiting to go to the next meeting, and we had a wonderful discussion. I was thanking him for his support for the people of Burma, and he outlined how that's very similar to what had happened in the past in China, and that we all have a moral requirement, to a moral responsibility to support the people of Burma in this difficult time. And he's just such a kind and personable person. He just grabbed my hand and was squeezing it and sitting there, and you just feel the emanations of a really loving and holy and peaceful person, and you can understand why he is revered so much all around the world, and why he holds so much power, even though he's, as he says, just a simple pacifist monk. But for the world of oppressed peoples around the world, he's much more than that. He's really a leader and sometimes referred to locally as a God man. And a real spiritual leader in this world. And so Canadians really appreciate the fact that he came back to show his appreciation for being made a Canadian citizen.
It seems the government is dragging their collective feet on some of the bills, 5 I understand, and I wondered if you had any thoughts on the Omnibus bill. Some percentage has been passed, I heard 80. Can you tell me something about that?
Well, I don't think it's the government's dragging their feet. The problem is they brought forward such terrible legislation that it's being hung up for months and months and months by both houses of Parliament because it's so bad. The experts have brought forward all sorts of instances while it's bad. Even the Department of Justice officials won't confirm that even recommended some of the changes that the government is bringing forward to the people. So, of course, this all got stalled, and last year was a disaster. They had to change their Minister of Justice and try and get one that could bring forward some legislation that would work, that would actually make Canadians safer. And all this delay, of course, does not make Canadians safer. So now their new strategy is to put it all, at least the things that were acceptable to the House, in one omnibus bill. And that has a downside potential that if there's one thing wrong with it, then the opposition could stop that bill and stop a lot of good things. But the upside is that because most of the items in the omnibus bill have already been through Parliament, there shouldn't be a problem getting this through. But, they're starting from scratch with a number of those things, as I think you said, 80%. Well, if they brought those back, which they have the power to do with Parliament, to the status they were at, which was almost finished, some of those elements would be finished a lot quicker than taking them all back to the starting line, putting them in an omnibus bill, and having to go through 3 readings in the House and committee, and the same thing in the Senate. That's actually stalling justice. So justice delayed is justice denied. So we're certainly going to do everything we can to help get it through because we've already approved most of the elements in it. But it's their justice strategy has been a real disaster to date.
Well, hopefully all will improve. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much.
You.